Okay, so when Luis and Alex join us, Alex is the chair for the Student Advisory Committee. He's from Southern Connecticut State University. Holly, I think you've met him, in addition to Luis, who's at Northwestern Connecticut Community College as the vice chair. We're lucky to have Holly Howie with us today. She's a member of the Board of Regents. She's here to give some greetings, say hello, check in, answer any questions that you might have. We did put her at the top of the agenda. So it probably makes the most sense for us to do, this agenda item first, and then we'll do roll call and the other agenda items. And hopefully by that point, Alex and Lewis will be here to take over the meeting. Holly, does that work for you?
That works for me.
Awesome. Oh, and here's Luis. Good morning.
Good morning, Angelo. Sorry, my computer was like slow as soon as I started and it wouldn't let me end the link, but I figured it out.
No problem. I was just saying that Holly is here to give us greetings from the Board of Regents, and then we can jump into the agenda and roll call if that works for you,
Perfect.
Alex. Okay, Holly, it's all
Awesome.
yours.
You got it. Good morning, everyone. As Angelo said, my name is Holly Howard, and I'm a member of the Board of Regents. And this is like coming home for me. A decade ago, I started on this committee on the SAC as a representative from Charter Oak, and I served as secretary and vice chair and then chair. So my board service actually started as a member of this committee. And then after I graduated, the governor put me back on the Board of Regents. So I'm here to tell you that the student voice is incredibly important. The work of this committee is incredibly important to the Board of Regents. We all want to hear your opinion, right? Even though I graduated not that long ago, I didn't go to school this year, right? I can't tell you what it's like to be on campus, right? I can't tell you what it's like to be a student trying to juggle all of these things during COVID, right? Because I'm not. And we depend on this committee to give us that feedback, right? We really depend on all of you to give us the pulse of your individual campuses. So what I really wanted to say first and foremost is thank you for your service. Like I get how busy each and every one of you are, right? You're going to school, undoubtedly you're working or doing something as a side hustle to be able to make it in school these days, right? Your time is precious, and I wanted you to know that it is also very valued, right? This committee can really make a difference. It does make a difference every year. And so what you bring forward is incredibly important to us, and it really does spark change. I can tell you the initiatives over the years that have come from this committee that have been implemented and faster than anything I come up with, right? The things that come out of this committee get addressed right away. So I wanted to thank you for your service. I want to tell you that what you're doing here really matters, that your voices matter. And I also want to let you know that, I really have a soft spot for this committee. So Angelo has my contact information. If there's ever anything you need, if there's anything I can help amplify, if there's anything I can help expedite, I would love to hear from any of you, either through this committee or through my personal email, right? Because I'm here to amplify your voices, to make sure the student voice is heard. It's why I'm on the Board of Regents, right? Is to make sure that we always stop and consider the student perspective. Because really, we're here for you, right? I mean, this entire system is about educating you and getting you where you want to be in your career and in your life. And so anything we can do to help with that, we really genuinely want to know. And so I'll stop blowing hot air and open the floor and say, what do you want me to know, right? What can I help with right now? What can I help amplify for you? And it's okay if you don't have anything right this minute. Like I said, my email address is readily available, and I am happy to talk to anyone, anytime. So I throw it back to the chair and vice chair, but I want to open it up, and I want to hear from the students, right? Like, what do you need? What's going on that you need support with right now? That's what I'm really most concerned with.
It looks like Alex has joined us. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning. I was gonna say, sorry to everyone for my tardiness. I spend like hours on technology and still have issues getting into meetings on time. So, yeah, and thanks, Holly. I appreciate it. Just for like more formal introduction, my name's Alex. So obviously I'm the chair. So I just appreciate you coming in. And like you said, if there's any questions too or anything anyone would like to ask, I don't have any right now, like you said. But if anyone else does, feel free to jump in. I give a few seconds.
And Holly, one of the agenda items for the group to discuss later today is the plan for the group moving forward for the spring semester. So as you know better than anyone, picking out a few initiatives that are cross-sectional across all the colleges and universities that this group can work on and push up to the board for consideration and, hopefully help to amplify that voice that you had mentioned before.
Yeah, and I could tell you if you're wondering what some of those things could be, right? In the past, this committee has dealt with things like asking for an LGBTQ committee, right, to help figure out what certain initiatives and policies should be. We have talked about things like library hours and security on campus, right, that directly impact students who are trying to who are trying to get their studies done and maybe don't have access during the day to the library. We've dealt with issues about student support, right? And being able to support students in non-traditional ways, right? And setting up fundraising initiatives and things around that, right? So we've dealt with a lot of issues. Oh, advisors, right? There was a huge push that was started as a result of this committee around getting more advisors on the community college campus, right? So things like that, right? And some of those may seem small, but I've defended library hours a million times. Listen, it's not small if you can't afford a textbook and the textbook's in a library that's locked, the only hours you can get on campus, right? So those things all really have a direct student impact, and they're things that would be easy for the board to overlook or not understand because they're on a campus by campus basis. So if that helps spark anything on your campus that you want to see addressed, no issue is too small if it impacts students.
Can I actually ask a really quick question, Holly? In terms
Sure.
of, or you're talking about academic advisors in terms of the issue you
Yep.
tackle at the community colleges. What did that look like? Because currently Southern has a really big issue with academic advisors, so I was wondering
Fabulous.
like how that process started.
Yeah, I think the very first meeting I attended as the SAC rep on the board, we had an academic and student affairs meeting after the board meeting, and it was on a campus. And the teachers talked about having hundreds and hundreds of students that they were assigned to advise. And I'm like, how could a professor have 600 students? How does that even work? And I think the answer we determined was it didn't for anybody, right? It didn't work for the professor, it didn't work for the students, right? So that was one of those big issues that took a long time to fix. But they hired a whole bunch of advisors on the campuses as a result of being told like that doesn't work, right? And so if Southern is having a problem with that, bring that forward. We want to hear that, right? If you feel like you can't get in with an academic advisor, if you feel like you can't get in with core support services, because one of the things we're really concerned with is not just like, can you get to school, right? Can you get to your classes, but can you stay, right? Because ultimately, worst case scenario is you start a degree, sometimes taking out student loans, and then you can't finish it. And so now you're no better off except that you have financial, commitments to pay off student loans. That's a huge issue. We care tremendously about that, right? So really looking at what can help support you in school, what can keep you in school. Those are really big issues, right? Some of the other things in the last 10 years were just like food pantries at community college campuses, right? Like there was a study, I think 5 years ago, that said 60% of community college students were going to not buy a book knowing they needed it, but it was a choice between the book and food, right? And that's a horrific thought. So how do we help support people through that? How do we help fix it? Right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Luis, you can go ahead, no problem. And thanks, Holly, for the answer. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Yeah, I think Holly brought out a good point about the food pantries and I mean the food availability and the different campuses around our system. I feel like a lot of the community colleges and student lunches where 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 the students are hanging out. Sometimes those students don't have they're in school all day. They have nowhere to go eat. So something on Northwestern we started doing with the student center was providing those students with snacks in their student lunches. So maybe that's something we can hopefully moving forward we can do in the other schools and maybe in the smaller schools where that could be more useful because I know the big state schools have, big dining halls and stuff. But the more smaller community colleges don't have that. So I feel like maybe moving forward in the future, we can maybe look towards providing those students with snacks or some type of food so they can, stay at school while they wait for their classes, but also like don't go hungry.
Awesome idea. That's great. Yeah, and a lot of times we're able to partner with community organizations too, by each of the campuses, right, to help support some of those initiatives. But that's a great idea. Yeah.
Holly, I had another quick question just regarding the budget. And Sherry, I also saw your comment in the chat, and for Southern, it's about 100 students per advisor as well. So it definitely is a lot. But I wanted to ask this question because I know like with Governor Lamont releasing the budget recently, obviously there's a lot of discussion around it and like the consensus that it's essentially not enough money for public higher education. But I was just wondering like your thoughts on it. And it's obviously a lot to look at as a student, so I was just wondering what you thought about it.
Yeah. So as far as the budget coming up, the governor's budget, right? We just got some direct information on that. I think yes. They all run together after a while. Listen, here's what you can do, right? You can advocate for yourself and you can advocate for your campuses. There is an appropriations hearing coming up. If you have the ability as a student to attend that, right? Reach out to Angelo. He will hook you up with the people, right? But what legislators really need to hear is your experience. They need to hear the difference it makes in your life to have support, right? Really from a numbers perspective, the majority of the budget for the Board of or for the entire system is made up of contracts, right? Of employee contracts, many of them union, and they are what they are, right? And that's like 80% of the budget. So and the fringe benefit costs keep going up and up and up, right? Like it's nothing we as regents have control over, right? And so if we keep losing funding and those costs keep going up, right? There's only really one other big source of funding, and that's fees and tuition, right? And at some point we cut services or we raise tuition, and it's a horrible cycle because what happens then is we realize every time we raise tuition, we price somebody out of an education, right? Guaranteed, it happens. It doesn't even matter if it's a 3% raise and it's hundreds of dollars a year. I'll go back to that study that says community college students are not buying textbooks because it's that or food, right? $10 a credit, matters to people, right? And so we really depend on the state to do their part. And overall in the country, states have spent less and less on public education. It's not just Connecticut, right? This is a nationwide trend. And our proposal this year, our request to the governor is really like, can we stop and look at that, right? We have some money, right, on a statewide level. We're out of the hole we were in a few years ago, right? So can we really look at reversing that trend? Because in the end, we can't keep raising tuition, right? Like literally I can't. If I have to vote for more tuition increases, the knot in my stomach happens every time, right? But is it then cut advisors, right? Is it cut library? I mean, like everything else is a lot of it is support services. We really cut on the administrative side where we can. And so we are all advocating. We are all, getting in front of legislators. Trust me, that work is happening. But my voice isn't anywhere near as powerful as yours. You taking the time to send an email to the person who represents your area is huge. I went and spoke as a student in front of appropriations. My legislator was sitting on that committee. He grabbed me and spent 5 minutes with me afterwards talking about my experience, right? So they want to hear from you. As much as the BOR wants to hear from you, trust me, your legislators want to hear from you. And they are so impressed because almost no one takes the time to do it, right? So if you can carve 15 minutes out of your day, I'm sure, and I'm sure we can, if you Google it, there's a link to how to find your legislator for your home or for your home address, right? And there'll be a link right there to send them an email, get your rep and your state senator and send them a quick note and tell them you're in school and how much school matters to you, right? And what your experience has been, it's incredibly impactful, right? And if you can, think about going to the appropriations hearing and speaking at that hearing. And like I said, Angelo can hook you up with the right people around that, but that's what you personally can do, right? It's frustrating. It feels powerless at times, right? But your voice does make a huge difference in this discussion.
And I did just forward this group an email from President Chang that he sent out Tuesday night with how to
Yep.
contact your representative, what you can do to, voice your concerns over the budget. And I know CSU does have representatives from your institutions testifying at appropriations next week, and we'll share with you who that list is. And if you want to do something additional in terms of written testimony, we can figure out how to do that.
Yeah, written testimony is huge, right? Because it goes into the record.
Exactly. Good questions.
Yeah, no, I actually have a class that involves having an option to be able to participate in testifying. So I will be doing that if anyone wants to do it as well, needs a friendly face. So yeah.
There you go.
I don't know if there's any.
It's weird, but it's kind of fun, right? I'm a political science geek. I mean, I don't ever intend to run for office or anything. I have a day job, but it is kind of fun to be there and to meet people and to just sit. It's like a huge committee room, right? And you're sitting in, kind of like auditorium seating, and they're calling people up one after the next, right? And you're testifying. It is awesome to feel a part of the process and to know that your voice moment. Right? And they interact with you, like they'll ask you questions. Stuff. It's pretty.
Absolutely. I'm not sure if there's any more questions, concerns for Holly. Again, thank you so much, Holly. Really appreciate it.
Yes,
You
thank
bet.
you.
And like I said, Angelo has my contact information, right? I'm happy to talk to anyone. I'm happy to email with anyone, and I'm happy to input. This committee matters, and your work matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Holly.
Have a great meeting, everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Angela, really quick, you might have to catch up to speed. Did we already go through roll call or no?
We can do a roll call now. We waited
Okay.
till you got here, and I can
All right,
help
great.
with it if you want.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Okay, so let me run through like this, and I actually can see a lot of folks, their names and what institution they're with, so this actually should go pretty well. The only one that I don't see, call-in user 2. Does anyone know? Hopefully someone knows who that is. Can you unmute yourself and identify your name and what institution you're with?
That's me, Benicia.
Benicia,
I edited the name, I think. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I will try to make note of that. If I can rename you on this thing. I can't, so we'll just have to remember that. Okay, so let me run through the list. Oliver, I see, is here, so he is good, hopefully. Okay, Central Connecticut State University. Is our rep from Central here? Let's see them. Eastern, Oliver's here. Southern, Alex is here. Western Connecticut State. Let's see Western, okay. Charter Oak, Donna is here.
Present.
Thank you. Asnuntuck, I believe, is here.
Yep.
Is that Samuel?
Yep.
Thank you. Capital Community College.
I'm here.
Thank you. Gateway Community College. Let's see, Gateway, okay. Housatonic Community College.
Hi, my name is Michelle. Just a stand-in for today.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Manchester Community College. Let's see, MCC. Naugatuck, or I'm sorry, Middlesex Community College.
I'm here.
Just who's speaking again? I'm
Venetia?
sorry. Yes, thank you. Your picture just popped up. Sorry about that. Naugatuck Valley Community College, NVCC. Naugatuck. Northwestern. Lewis is here. Norwalk Community College. Is Jared here? Let's see Jared there. And we have QVCC, Quinnebog Valley. Three Rivers, TRCC.
Hello, I'm Hiram and I'm filling in for Safira.
Good morning, thank you. And finally, last but not least, Tunxis. Let's see, Tunxis, okay. Okay, thank you. We're actually not voting on anything today, Alex, so we should be okay to move forward, you know, with the representatives and attendees that we have this morning, if that works for you.
Yeah, sure. Since the next thing we're jumping into is the schedule, it's okay. Am I able to share my screen on this? I don't know.
Yeah, no, can you? Go ahead.
Yeah, let me do that. Give me 1 second. Everyone. Okay. All right, so really quick, I just mentioned it briefly. So essentially, this is our agenda. Just ignore like the HR and administration, but this is like our agenda, or not the agenda. These are our upcoming meetings and the last few meetings that we're gonna have for student advisory. So obviously we're here for the 10th, but we do still have another one, March 10th, April 21st, October 13th, and then November 30th. So obviously our next thing that we're going to be talking about is like what we really want to focus on. And since we don't have, 20 meetings left, we only have about 4. Definitely want to try to land on something, and that's why it was, really helpful that we had Holly in as well. And I was actually going to type each date in the chat, and I actually sent March 10th by accident. But I can, send this link and put it in the chat. Actually just copy it and put that there. Angela, I don't know if there's anything that you want to specifically mention about the schedule, or just make us aware of the upcoming dates.
I think what you said is perfect. We do have a limited amount of meetings left this semester. So, maybe keeping that in mind as you frame what you want to work on as a group for the upcoming semester, for this semester really, and then figure out what makes the most sense, be a consensus, and then, kind of dive right in. And then in the event that the group needs some additional time outside those meetings, we can talk about breakout groups or schedule a special SAC meeting outside of the normal, March 10th or, meeting that's normally occurs in April, so that you can get some additional work done if that's helpful. So there is some flexibility there for sure.
Okay, awesome. And Venetia, I threw that link in the chat for you as well. So everyone can be able to use that link. Just when you use that link, it's going to show you all the meetings. You can just click on committee and it'll sort it by each committee. So I believe if you scroll the way down, it'll show student advisory. Because obviously there's a lot of different meetings that are going to pop up there. But you can tell the BOR meetings too. But any questions though about the schedule too? Concerns? Okay. All right, cool. So I guess for the more important part, really deciding what area or areas we want to focus on, just so we get the wheels turning, everyone has some idea of like, or I guess start the thought process or brainstorming process. Previously we've talked about, and I think I brought it up, like the free period products on campus, and obviously there's been a lot of a movement around that because that was like more legislation. It was a bill that was put in place. So that's something we discussed in the past. Obviously, Holly just brought up a couple of things. She talked about academic advising. That's definitely an issue that Southern is having. So obviously that'd be something I'd love to focus on. But it could really range from everything, even food insecurity, just literally anything that you're seeing at your campuses that a lot of people are experiencing or having trouble with. So I'm not sure if anyone was drawn to anything specifically right now. Yeah, Luis, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was thinking, I'm not entirely sure like what's the like food availability in the other campuses, because I haven't been to every campus. But potentially something we can work on is on the student lunches, providing students with like small snacks, non-perishable snacks they can take to their classes and just go. I feel like that could be a good initiative, potentially for the students, and benefit them. Even having a little coffee station in their student lunch, right? I feel like that could be beneficial even for their student performance, right? Because now they're not going to their classes hungry. At least they have something in their stomachs, right? And we know that a lot of students have a class in the morning, and then rather than them going back home or going to their dorms. They'd rather stay in the facilities and just wait it out. So maybe that's something we can potentially work on.
Yeah, I was going to mention really quickly because that's Southern, and anyone else feel free to jump into if they have experiences with this. But at Southern, we have a room called the resource room, and we have it basically like one fridge that's full of water, juices, and then we have like a few baskets that are full of snacks. But obviously the issue with that is just if everyone goes and it's out by 3 o'clock, and then we're constantly refilling it, then we have a situation where we start running out of food. Um, so yeah, I think having like a specific system where people can go and get like a snack, especially in the morning, because a lot of things it's harder. I feel like it's harder to get food and drinks in the morning, um, and then vice versa when it's after 8 o'clock or whatever. Definitely having like some type of system people can go to and get food so they can go to class not starving would be great.
Yeah, if we can set up some type of system where let's say like the students, rather than taking four waters and like 5 snacks, that everyone takes one and one, and that way you don't come with that problem and run out of snacks by the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, Sherry, go ahead.
Hi, I just want to chip in here. So I run the food pantry over at Nantucket Community College, and we have a grab and go section. So we make sure that the food pantry is open between the hours of, I believe it's 10 in the morning until 6:30 at night. The grab and go section is specifically for what you folks are talking about. You run in there, you grab a juice, you grab some protein bars, you run off to your class, right? They can also access the pantry and take home bags and bags of groceries for their families. And the key to this, because I hear what you're saying, you're going to run out fast, right? And the funding, where do you get the funding for this? The key to this is becoming a member of Connecticut Food Share, which serves all of Connecticut now. So if you're a member of Connecticut Food Share, you can get free deliveries to your campus. Somebody has to go on each week and order the items. But I have honestly stocked this pantry with grab and go snacks week after week for free. And we're serving right now over 500 students a week. So just want to throw that out there. And Sam is our rep for Nantucket for the SAC, and he can connect you folks to me at any time if you want more information about that. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sherry. I may be contacting you in the future then, because Southern again, like we have a lot of people that want to utilize it. It's just in terms of running out, and then obviously we're figuring out the best system so we're not spending $1 million on snacks, for a few people rather than everyone. So yeah. Any other issues that people are seeing at their school though, or just things that people would like to focus on as well? Yeah, Venetia, go ahead. If I'm mispronouncing your name too, please let me know because I'm terrible.
You're saying it right. Holly spoke about textbooks previously. I think it's still an issue. To be honest, I'm one of them. I haven't bought my chemistry textbook because I run out of funds right now. And we can't even borrow the books from the library. You have to have it during library hours. Is there anything we can do about that? At least have 3-4 books, because sciences, certain subjects are common subjects. A lot of students take them, and having at least 2-3 books and maybe letting them borrow the books once in a while, I think should be essential.
I 100% agree. And Oliver, if you want to jump in, I don't know if it's about the same thing or not. Feel free.
Oh no, I have a different thing to talk about, but I know here at Eastern, you can buy or uh, sorry, you can go to the library and you can rent out most textbooks. So I don't know if it's just a school by school thing or not.
Yeah, I was just gonna say really quick. So Southern essentially, and I might be getting this process wrong because I haven't utilized it in a while, but professors can essentially rent out certain books at the library and put it on reserve. Granted, it's usually only like two or three copies of the textbook, And then students can come in and be like, hey, I'm taking this class, and then students can borrow that book and then return it. I believe in the same day. I don't know if you're able to like take it for multiple days because obviously when there's only 2, 3 copies, everyone needs it. Um, but that's kind of the process Southern uses, but I would love to have like a more streamlined process that is kind of like a almost like a loan program so that it's system wide because I completely agree with you. Textbooks will I feel like always be an issue, especially in the STEM field. I know that it gets to thousands of dollars. So yeah, that's definitely something I would love to look at as well. But I think we'll go Oliver and Gordon because I think Oliver, you said you had something a different concern.
Yeah, so this is going back to the female product. So for Eastern, so far they haven't completed, or there's not female products in any of the bathrooms yet. Because Eastern, well, I was told that they can't find dispensers for it. So I don't know what we do about that. I know there is products in the Women's Center, but not many people know about the Women's Center.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be a question that Angela, if you have any insight on what the schools are doing right now in terms of mental products.
Well, the law doesn't go into effect until July 1st, 2023. So we do have some time at the institutions to comply with the new state law. So um, I don't have it off the top of my head, but if I remember correctly, it's one designated restroom location on the campus that has open access to folks that might need to use it that can have those products. So I believe the bare minimum is one location, and the schools can choose to expand upon that should they want to or need to or decide to. And really, hopefully, to some degree, in the state law, it talks about, funding and availability of products. So that allows the campuses to either purchase it on state contracts, or really get donations from the local community. Some organizations, some local health organizations, and otherwise, um, they have the ability to give donations to the campuses of those items so that they can stock the bathrooms. Also, for those of you that have campus health centers, the 4 state universities, that have university health services, that might be another location where some of those products might be located per the state law. So I think there's still time to comply and, get dispensers and, if Eastern might be having an issue getting, I think I heard it correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Oliver, the actual like dispensary units, the hardware to dispense the products. They can work with the system office facilities and infrastructure folks to see if there's a state contract that they can, piggyback off of to purchase those items if that's helpful. Maybe we can talk offline, and I can put you guys in contact with those people if needed.
Awesome, yeah, thank you, Angela. And we do have a spot on the agenda to discuss updates from the system and everything. So we're definitely gonna come back to this. Um, Gordon, I know your hand was up for a while, so we'll go Gordon, then Faye be right after.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay, thank you. Sorry I was late into the meeting. I'm a vice president. I'm not SAC at MCC. But we have the college provides the menstrual products in all the women's rooms and in all of our all gender rooms. And also our Cougar Pantry, we have a partnership with a local coffee shop who has a community board. So we have private donors donating that and they bring it in periodically. So we have abundance, we have location, and we have variety for all the students.
Wow, that is amazing. And thank you so much for sharing, Gordon. And then Faye, I believe your hand was up as well.
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
For I'm the SAC rep for QVCC in Danielson, and we actually have baskets, but we also we're a smaller school, so we can get away with only having like 10 of each. I am not entirely sure who's sponsoring us yet, but I do know that they're being monitored by our student activity committee. Just throw my 3 cents in there. In regards to like anything with the dispensers, we those typically have to be paid for. If I'm correct, it's usually like 25 cents. If there's any like recommendation I have in that aspect is to definitely have it so you don't have to pay like 25, 75 cents for it because not everyone has 25, 50, 75 cents in their purse when they need that. So we particularly use baskets just set up on like a shelf and then people grab and go from there and we refill it about every few weeks or so. We're trying to focus a little, that hasn't necessarily been our main priority, but since it's now being a law that's being implemented, we'll definitely be focusing on that a little bit more.
Yeah, thanks for letting us know. And I believe with the language in the bill, um, it does specify that it must be free. Um, so hopefully that shouldn't be an issue. And then obviously if it is, you know, but I don't think that should be a problem. Um, and then sorry, Gordon, feel free to take the floor again.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention also, we don't use dispensers, just as the cleaning crews come through daily. They just set the products on the counter, but we don't have the dispenser options.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, and Sherry, I saw your comment. Thank you for the insight. I believe like about a year and a half ago, I was on our residence hall association at Southern, which is like it's basically student government, but specifically for residence halls, and we tried to work on flow. So um, I'm glad that worked out there. But yeah. Um, any other concerns? Just honestly, right now we have textbooks. Basically, if we can look at some type of loan program, so that's one thing we discussed. Um, we also have that food program that Louise brought up. Um, and I believe someone else brought a little bit of insight into as well. Um, so we have a couple things that we could tackle, and I mean we could also look into both as well. Um, and then, like I said, as soon as we finish this on the agenda, right after it is just an update from the system in terms of mental products and what's being done with the bill. So, but I just want to make sure we got everyone's concerns that we want to focus on. Yeah, Sam.
So I'm not sure if this is the place to bring it up, but only about half of the community colleges have an open. And the reason I'm bringing it up at all is because a gym for students is a way for them to let go of steam. And I know as Nuntuck, there's not really many spaces to let go of steam at all. Like in between classes, say you have 15 minutes, kind of want to shoot a ball, shoot some hoops or something like that. There's not really space to do that. And so what you find is a lot of students kind of just going to class and then going home and not really spending a lot of time on campus because they have nowhere to spend time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so just like no, like not a lot of like recreational space or opportunities, basically. Okay, got it. Yeah, I mean at Southern, I mean it was a while ago actually, but in our original master plan, we were gonna get a recreational center, but that never happened. So, but I completely agree with you. Um, going straight to class and then going back to even if you're going back to your residence hall, not the best way for a student. So, thank you for bringing that up as well. And then Doomby, Doomby. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, so let me know. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm Dumebi. Actually, yeah, I wanted to speak as well on what Samuel was talking about. Like in a lot of, well, I can't really say for other community colleges, but I know definitely for Capital, we don't have a lot of like spaces to say just relax a bit, like be it a gym or like a social lounge or something like that. We have like one floor in our school because our school's kind of built in like a vertical type of way. And we have like one floor, and then like a lot of the like rooms on our floor is towards other things that aren't really like social, even though it's technically the social floor.
Okay, yeah, I hear you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Angela, just a quick question. In terms of something that regards like space utilization or an issue that involves like not enough space for something, is like what's the feasibility of tackling issues like that?
I think with regard to space concerns, that needs to be addressed locally on the campus, because they're the ones that ultimately dictate what the space allocations are. You know, I'll be frank, I've been in the system since 2006, a graduate from Eastern and Western Connecticut State Universities, and these SAC meetings have touched upon gyms and fitness centers, and I know some of the colleges have, you know, sports labs like Housatonic and Gateway, and then obviously maybe some others do not. Um, my suggestion with my student affairs hat, for the most effectual way to kind of bring about that would be to talk with your student activities directors and your student affairs deans to see, even if there's not the possibility of designating like a gym on campus, which can be expensive to do, or if you don't have the space, not even a possibility, but like, for example, I can't remember if Capitol has one or not, but maybe they can create a relationship with the local YMCA down the street. And maybe that opportunity exists at some of the other areas like in Enfield or some of the other areas that colleges don't have the space. With regard to lounge and study and relaxation space, that's definitely another area where the student affairs dean and the student activities director should be the first point of contact. But of course, you know, I'm happy to engage in those conversations with the campus leadership to see if we can help at this level as well. But generally speaking, it would be something that's handled locally. That helps.
Okay, yeah, that's essentially I was trying to figure out if it's something that we can tackle or if different process needs to be taken. So, yeah, thanks for the clarification on that. And then Dumebi and then Luis, I see your hand up, so I'll let you go after.
Yeah, sorry. I think I guess I didn't clarify as well earlier. I think more so what I was trying to say was I know for some of the community colleges, and I use Capital as like an example, we tend not to have like a lot of social like more so, should I say, social time or social spaces. And we all kind of know like being social is very important in your college life. So because this is where you learn networking and this is where you learn like where this is basically where you find like future peers that may help you in like all areas. And I think there's not a lot of encouragement for social spaces in a few of the schools. So, because I've talked to like my director and I've talked to like, you know, student affairs, and they're more so worried about like, you know, grades and stuff, which is obviously something that should be, you know, top priority. But it's like, if the question comes up of like, okay, what about like socializing? They get worried over like, oh, is it just going to turn into a play space or something like that? And there's not a lot of encouragement, at least from the school that I'm at, and a few that I've heard from other schools of over socializing or like networking per se in school.
Yeah, I think I kind of have a better idea of what you're saying now. So thank you for that clarification as well. And Luis, I'll let you go as well before I say
Andrew brought up, yeah, I talked to my activities director at the school, and we were able to. He provided me with like enough resources because we had the same problem at Northwestern, and there definitely wasn't a space where students could go and just like Samuel said, just shoot some hoops and have fun, you know. So what something that could potentially help for other schools is maybe potentially creating a club. That's something that I did. You know, having a club kind of like gives you the opportunity to reserve a room. And I know at my school, there's a possibility of connecting to the YMCA. So that's something definitely really doable that the YMCA's could potentially do for the schools that don't have the space. And yeah, I feel like creating the club gives you the opportunity to socialize with the people that are interested in playing those sports and kind of create that networking. So maybe that's hopefully something that potentially other schools could incorporate into their so that way they could be more socializing in the campuses.
Yeah, thank you for that, Luis. And I mean, I think we could definitely discuss it further too. And I'm sure Angela would, like you said, Angela wouldn't mind helping out as well. So I would definitely feel free to like contact Angela just because I think it might be a situation where it possibly could be done locally. I'm just trying to figure out how we would tackle it as like advisory board. Um, but yeah, I know that's not really the best answer, but I totally hear what you're saying as well. And then, sorry, Don, I'll let you go as well.
Hi, I just wanted to suggest from a networking standpoint, because Charter Oak, we're a little unique that we don't have a physical campus and we have people not only in Connecticut, but all over the country. So our networking has to be remote in most cases, although they do offer some in-person options available. But what we've tried to do to promote networking is actually growing from the career services standpoint and making that a part of that program, growing the career services and including more networking opportunities as a part of that. So I get that you guys are talking about the social connections, but Doomby was kind of talking more from like a professional networking. So maybe coming up from the career services standpoint. And then the other part that we've been including is just connection with current students and our alumni association, because again, that's where you get the true networking connections. But we've offered opportunities for current students and alumni to say, go to a hockey game together or go to dinners together, presentations online about, setting up your LinkedIn profile, for instance, any of that type of thing. So it's ways that people can participate in person as well as from a remote standpoint, and just being creative with combining those two groups. So from career services and alumni standpoint, maybe that's something you could explore further.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Donna. So I know we've discussed a lot of different issues, but I don't want to, I want to make sure we're using our time effectively too. So, um, out of everything that we've discussed so far, is there anything that we're kind of feeling a stronger gravitation towards, whether it be, um, um, sorry, I'm just taking notes at the same time, whether it be, like we just talked about, recreational space, social space, having those networking opportunities. 'Cause I know we said that, it might be more of a local battle at each school. If we still want to move forward with that, and majority, I think we can look into it and see what we can do. Again, we talked about like a process where we could have some type of textbook like loan program, or a way for people to be able to rent out textbooks at even a lower cost or free, depending on how library works. Also, again, we talked about that food program, and we got some great insight from different institutions about how their process works. So I'm just wondering if there's anything we're kind of feeling a stronger gravitation towards right now out of all that.
I just want to note, if I can, that we all kind of know what we don't know. So there is an OER process, the Open Educational Resource Textbooks. What we might need is someone from the state library that works at the system office to come in and talk about the availability of some of these open resources. Because I do know that textbooks and prices of the textbooks at the bookstores has been an issue previously with some of the schools. So there might be actually some resources available already that we might not necessarily have detailed information about. Now, I do know that the OER resources are not specific to some of the science and math areas when it's a very specialized area of study, but it might be helpful for them to hear, because I actually don't know if at the community colleges you can, rent out a textbook for all the classes and what they did stock for those in the libraries. I did ask. I haven't received an answer yet. So when I do get that answer, I'll be sure to share it with the groups that you all know that. So maybe a guest speaker from the state library would be helpful, or figuring out what that process is, because you do have the ability to take out a book from any of the 17 schools. or the 16 schools, the state universities and the community colleges by going to your local library through interlibrary loan. So, even if a book that's available at Southern is not available at Eastern, they can request that book from the Southern Library and have it shipped to Eastern for the student to take out. So I'm not sure if that's something that would be helpful. If not, we can, or if it is, we can schedule someone to come in and then figure out what to do from there. But I also just want to make a quick point. Whatever the group decides on, the focus area really needs to affect all 17 schools. So the community colleges, the state universities, and Charter Oak, which is unique in its own sense. And Donna alluded to that. So generally speaking, in the past, the SAC has dealt with higher level issues that the board might need to address, whether it's tuition, mental health, not enough advisors on the campus, public safety with regard to some of our campuses being armed and some of them not being armed. Generally higher level issues that can be extrapolated down to the campuses and implemented generally is where we see the SAC have the most bang for the buck, for lack of a better way to put it. So kind of keep that framework in the back of your mind as well. I think the facilities conversations might be easier dealt with on a case-by-case basis, just because we're not having those issues on all the campuses from what I gather here today, and maybe they're easily remedied. And maybe this group wants to focus its time on some of the more larger issues that are facing the system in all of your institutions. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, thank you, Angelo. I saw Gordon's hand. Gordon, I know you put your hand down. Did you still want to go, or you're all set? Okay, so we'll go just really quick. We'll go Gordon, Hiram, and then Donna.
Oh, I thank you. So I just wanted to mention that at MCC, the deans, when they make their budget, they do set aside a line item for book scholarship for students who need help with that. And also, I found a strategy where you could go on the publisher's website and get 30, 60, or 90-day free trials while you figure out how to get your permanent materials. And I wanted to thank Angelo for mentioning the tuition is a big thing, because any further tuition hikes are going to put me out of college and a lot of people like me, because we don't all have access to financial aid, and everyone doesn't qualify for the PACT also. So that's something that I'm very engaged in here at Manchester.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Gordon. And then Hiram, I believe you had your hand up.
Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. So something that's like jogging in my head, because I kind of heard it recently, because it's something discussed internally in the library scene, is what's the possibility of like possibly having ebook options at a library on campuses? Like a general like ebooks for the learning materials?
I didn't hear this. I'm sorry if that was Alex. Are you able to take that? Or I didn't hear the second part of the question, or if you can repeat it.
Yeah, Hiram, if you wanted to say it again.
Yeah, sorry. I just asked like what's the feasibility of like having ebooks available for libraries? So I know at least for Three Rivers we have a library database for ebooks and whatnot. So I'm wondering if there's any feasibility to get like educational texts put onto those platforms.
I don't want to misspeak, but I think there are. Maybe we're just not, I'm not aware of it. So maybe Alex, at the next meeting or a special meeting, we should have that person come in. We do have a director of library services that oversees all libraries across the entire system. And maybe, I believe he might be the best person to come in to talk about. I mean, I'll be honest, when I was using the Dewey Decimal System and paper cards to do some of the research. So I'm not the best person to talk about the library, but we have made leaps and bounds with library services and making things more readily accessible. So, maybe if this group is agreeable to that, we can have someone come talk about OER, the open educational resources, the free textbooks, and then also the library process, which would include the ebooks that you mentioned.
And Hiram, I'm just asking for clarification, because at Southern there are some texts you can rent electronically through our school library. But are you like saying a specific like database for just ebooks versus like a database that like how we have just for physical books, or no?
I think I'm just saying like for just
In general.
yeah, in
Okay.
general.
All right.
Also, because I know like renting out ebooks, like in actual libraries, only one person can rent one ebook, even though it's virtual. So like extending that to multiple people can rent it out. I have no idea how that works, to be honest, but yeah.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Okay, thank you. I was just had for clarification. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then Donna.
I think we've kind of hit upon something that would maybe apply to all of us, because even from an online standpoint, that textbooks are something that we struggle with as well. And again, we try to use as many OER resources as we can just to try to keep the cost down for everybody. But we were talking about that at our student association meeting back in the fall, that a lot of students aren't aware, as Angela was saying, is that they can borrow from other campuses and have the book shipped there. So I think we just need to maybe do a better education process for all students about the availability of ebooks and OER, and that you can borrow actual books from all of the institutions and how all that works, and try to streamline it. But to Angelo's point, I think it would be good to have someone from the libraries that's much more knowledgeable about it than all of us, to explain how the process works and maybe how we could make it easier, and get the information out to students to use, because that would immediately solve a lot of problems from a money standpoint for folks. And that is something that we struggle with as well.
And if I could just jump in for 1 second, then I promise to keep my mouth closed for the most part. Alex, I think you did a great job asking Holly about the budget process, but if you didn't read President Chang's email yet with regard to the update on the governor's budget and how it really detrimentally could potentially affect all of our higher education institutions, that might be something to take a look at. Really, the budget is very concerning that's been proposed. I mean, Alex alluded to it being very early in the process, and it's a complicated budget process, but President Chang in that email that I forwarded to you all does a good job breaking it down and how you all can help. Because if the cuts that are being proposed in the budget come to fruition, some very, very difficult decisions would need to be made, and difficult decisions that we really haven't faced in a long time in our system. So I think it's important for this group to keep an eye on that, just to make sure that you're able to brief your local SGAs on the campus, but also to stay engaged in the process. This is going to be, the long game. The budget really doesn't come out formally or get approved until the end of June. So between now and June is really when the talking and the going back and forth continues between the governor's office and the system office and other legislative leaders to really figure out what the best point of the budgets are, and how to get additional funds for CSCU. So that might be an area that the group wants to focus on. It might be a good idea to have either President Chang and our government relations folks or financial officer come in to kind of answer direct questions about the budget and what you can do as students to assist with that. Because Holly mentioned, and I agree with her 100%, that this is, your voice is amplified tenfold as compared to administrators. You're the ones that are going to our institutions, and we want you to be successful and have the best experience possible. So, Alex, maybe scheduling a special SAC meeting where they can go over the budget and answer questions, and you can bring that information back to your campuses to talk with your local SGA and student leaders on how to get engaged. Because we don't expect you to read the entire multi-page bullet budget. We want to break it down in easy chunks and easy bites to kind of digest. But that's an option as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Angel. And I put a brief snippet from President Chang's email regarding the budget. Just talking about, I mean, I briefly mentioned when we were talking about Holly, just some of the underfunding and how underfunded public higher education what we're looking at for it. So it talks about for FY24 and FY25. So obviously that's a snippet, but just so everyone has some type of idea, kind of like what it looks like. But what was I going to say? I think it would be really, really beneficial to just have someone come in to talk more about those library services, only because, as Donna mentioned, I think it is something that even if students don't know it's affecting them right now, it will be beneficial to every campus to have a more streamlined service for electronic ebooks. And then I wasn't sure with the consensus on academic advising and if that is an issue everyone's seeing, but it seems like those two things are something that would be really beneficial to I would assume all colleges. And then I think if we do have the opportunity to learn more about the budget, and that's also the direction we want to go in, because obviously there's still a lot of moving parts with it. So it might be a little I don't want to say complicated, but interesting to tackle since there's still a lot going on within it. As Angela said, like it's not officially out. We could also do that as well. But yeah, any any opinions though? I think it would be best to move forward with the library services as well as the student advising, and then we can also learn some more about the budget and also see what we can do in terms of moving forward with that as well. But I want to make sure I include anyone's concerns that may not have been brought up that were brought up. Okay, awesome. And Angela, I just want to make sure we're moving in the right direction too. Of those three things, because I think those three things, again, I think they would be pretty good to move forward with, only because it would be beneficial at campuses. Is there anything that you think we should be focusing on right now that I didn't mention?
I think that, I think based on the robust conversation today and based on former SACs that I served as the advisor to, I think that this is a good list. I mean, it kind of aligns well with the tuition discussion and the increases. I mean, you might remember or heard noise about tuition being increased at the community colleges, and there was some feedback and news stories and about that. The community college discussion about tuition as well as Charter Oak, the discussion to increase tuition has been postponed until June. So, maybe this area this group can assist with ensuring that, or helping to ensure that all points of view are considered and not, not tuition being increased in the upcoming academic year or the semester. So I think tuition's a big one. I think learning about OER and, online textbooks. I did just get word back from his Nuntuck. They were the first one to respond about textbooks. Apparently, only certain professors or instructors allow for their textbooks or have their textbooks be present in the library for students to take out. So it seems to be there's some area of opportunity there, at least at some of the schools. But I think gathering that information and kind of coming up with a plan that is driven by this group really makes the most sense on what makes sense to move forward. I mean, we know tuition is going to be an issue. We know that the budget's going to be an issue. But maybe what's the secondary issue? The cost of textbooks and then open access at the college libraries and university libraries. Maybe that's a secondary thing that this group can help tackle, and once we get some additional information. But again, that's just my 2 cents.
No, I completely agree, and thank you for saying that. I think that and Faye, then I'll let you jump in. I think that I think there's going to be a lot of big issues that are going to be seen. So, for example, Angela said it, but not sorry, budget, tuition. That's always going to be something that we're all going to be looking at and worrying about. So, I don't want to feel like we have to solve everything at once. So that's why I really like this list of academic advising, ebook services, and the budget. Because I think there's small things we can start working on now, especially as the budget gets more finalized. Because I think once it's more finalized and everything's kind of set, it'll be easier to kind of figure out the best route to take in terms of that. So, Faye, feel free to do your thing.
I wasn't sure if this had already been mentioned previously because I did join the meeting like a half hour late, but did we talk about food services being provided on campuses? I go to QVCC, I have for the past 2 semesters. We don't have a cafeteria, like at all. We have snacks and that's about it, but I wasn't really sure if we have the space for it, but we don't have any vendors. Has that been touched already? Is that going to be like a priority in other meetings? Like just overall, I don't know if any other campuses are having that problem.
Faye, that's news to me. This is Angelo. Let's have a conversation, because I know that when COVID happened, or, the campuses slowed operations, some vendors canceled their contracts with the community colleges, but I would have thought by now that things would have been back up and running at the community college with regard to some kind of food service options on the campus. I don't know if other
So,
colleges are having that issue.
yeah, for at least for QVCC, our SAC, our not our SAC, our SGA has been able to provide like snacks, and we have a food pantry, but it's not necessarily. We have like 4 vending machines, which is just not necessarily really items that, like, for myself, I'm a student worker as well. I'm at school from 10:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night. And we don't really have any options for students who are coming in early and leaving late for actual meals, because we don't have a vendor at the moment. And there has really been no, there was like a rumor, I think, at one point, and that's all it ever was that that there was a vendor interested. We had a food truck at one point at the beginning of the last semester, but that's about as far as we've gotten. And then we haven't really been, at least as far as I'm aware of, we haven't really been in contact with anyone who is more willing to really help that get going. It feels like it's been on the back burner for a lot of the people in higher up positions.
Okay. If you could do me a favor and send me an email, I'll put my email in the chat in case anyone doesn't have it, and let me look into that with your campus CEO and others and see what the answer on that is. And
Okay,
I
thank
would,
you.
yeah, no problem. And I would respectfully ask for anyone about the space issues was capital, and a couple of you other folks put information in the text in the chat boxes. If there's something specific to your institution, if you could forward me an email with what that is, I'm happy to look into it with your campus leadership just so that we can close the loop. I don't want, things to get lost in this meeting and then not get followed up on. So my email is there. If you can just send me an email with what the description of the problem is, I'll get you a resolution one way or the other, or at least additional information on it.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much, Angelo. And yeah, just to answer, we briefly talked about like food pantry and kind of like I would say like kind of smaller scale stuff that are in place, but definitely not cafeterias. I feel like that's a major issue. So Angelo, thanks for helping out with that too. So I hope that gets resolved as soon as possible. And then Samuel, I think you said you didn't receive the forwarded email for the budget, or for President Chang's email with the budget. So we can get that too if you still need it. Wait, sorry, Sam, I'm so sorry, I missed it. You didn't get it?
Oh no, I said
Oh, you're good?
yes.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, awesome. Okay, so like I said, I want to make sure we're using time wisely. I know we're already over an hour. Really quick. 1 second. I'm just gonna find my notes. So really quick, those 3 things that we have again, academic advising. I think we can definitely discuss that more, especially ebook services. Angela, could we have someone come in to talk about that, just so we also have a better understanding?
What was the request? The first part, Alex, sorry.
For the what was it? It's the ebook services, but you talked about how the worldwide system for it.
Yes,
in
yes,
terms
yeah.
of
The
when it's like
library,
a
the
special
director of
stuff.
library. It's a library
Yeah.
budget.
hmm
Okay.
Yeah, if we can just have if we could have someone come in and talk about it, even if it's on March 10th, I think that'd be really helpful. So then we have a better understanding of what direction we can go, and even if it's feasible still.
Sounds good.
And then for the budget, I know that again, like I said, right now there's still a lot of things that are kind of up in the air. So I think the best thing that we can do right now is if you feel comfortable testifying, we would like to definitely coordinate that. I don't know, Angela, if who the best person to reach out for doing that, like in terms of help with that.
So your campus leadership received a call for folks to, not everyone can testify, as you know, on behalf of appropriations, or you might know. So campus leadership were asked to recommend some students from the institution. So I believe that list has already been solidified, but there might be an additional opportunity for written testimony. But I'll get you all clarification on that once I get an answer on that. I don't know who was selected or who was asked. That went to and actually you can ask your campus leadership if you really want to know, whether it's the CEO or the vice president for student affairs at the state universities, but there should be representatives from several of the campuses to represent a cross section of students across the board. But I'll see if I can get some additional details on that.
Awesome, thank you. And then just last question for you, Angel. I'm gonna keep putting you on the spot. Only because it's about academic advising, and I'm not sure if this is another. I know I said like this would be beneficial to all campuses, but would this be something that we have to come at by campus, like locally, or is this something that we can speak to with someone that is a part of the system that can be implemented, or even just discuss at a system-wide level for academic advising?
I think that it might make sense for us, for the group to go back and get additional information on what their campuses offer. I mean, for the community colleges, they have guided pathways advisors, which was a new initiative that was put into place before the merger of the 12 colleges. So, we can definitely get someone to come in to talk about the guided pathways that applies to the Connecticut community colleges. Donna just mentioned that it's not a problem, academic advisors at Charter Oak, but maybe the 4 state universities have a different makeup than what the community colleges have. So maybe gathering that and maybe putting together a fact sheet or a 1-page document so that we can compare the notes and then go determine what the ask might be to the Board of Regents or something like that.
Okay, and I'm seeing that multiple institutions, it's not a big problem. So I think maybe yeah, well, except Alina, I'm with you. I haven't had issues that large, but I definitely have had different issues with academic advising. But we can come back and just simply discuss academic advising, and if, like Angela said, if we can just go back, get information from our respective institutions, come back and discuss it, we can maybe just have a brief discussion there, and then see what can be done. But if it's not an issue, like we said, that's affecting all schools. I don't want to exactly put it on the back burner just because of that fact. But we can definitely, keep, the ebook services like we talked about in the budget at the forefront. I'm sorry, I missed the order of hands, so apologize. I don't know if it was, or no, Sam and then Faye, I believe.
He can go first. I don't care.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so to go back to the hearing for the Appropriations Committee, it's being held Wednesday, and according to the 2 coordinators I was speaking to, you can submit as many written testimonies as you want. And also there's sort of like an open forum almost after the student panels. So you can, if you aren't a part of the student panel, there is sort of a way that you can still speak, but there might be like hundreds of people like signed up for that. So just be aware of that kind of thing. And I'm not exactly sure how to become a part of that like open forum that I was talking about. So yeah.
All right, and then Faye, I'm gonna let you go, and then I think we'll move on to any quick updates. And Angela, I might need a little bit of help with that just for the Metro products. Once we get to that, just because I don't know how much time is allowed, but I don't want to keep obviously anyone for 2 hours here. But Faye, feel free to go ahead.
Okay, so this is my first SAC meeting as representative because I missed the 2 last semester. How are you guys reaching out to and getting this information from your schools? Because I'm highly involved on my campus, but I don't necessarily have any way, or like I'm not necessarily, if I'm phrasing this right, not necessarily sure on where to get the information from. If someone was like contacting you individually, I'm fine with that as well. So it doesn't have to become part of the meeting. But like I am quite new at the whole, like, is it a surveys or is it just who are you guys talking to about that?
Angela might have a better answer, potentially. But
Okay.
oh, sorry, Angela, do you need clarification with the question?
No, you go ahead first, Alex.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, so in terms of a lot of these issues, I go to my student government. And of course that may look different for any institution, but usually that's where I start. And then I also go to just like faculty, because usually faculty at my school will be designated for certain things. So we could have a professor that's political science, but they also are on the faculty for different things, and they might have information regarding local politics. So I'll usually go and talk to them and reach out that way.
Thank you.
What institution was just speaking? I'm sorry.
QVCC.
So QVCC, Rebecca Kitchell, the Associate Dean of Student Development. Have you met with her yet?
I have not. I haven't really been in contact with many people at all. I am part of SGA, but I haven't necessarily been able to attend those meetings because of personal issues, but I will definitely be attending more of those and trying to get in contact. Would you be able to forward an email with her in it, just so I can like get that contact information?
Sure. If you send me a note, I'm happy to do an introduction. Send me an email and then I'll forward it back.
Thank you.
Wait, I'm sorry, maybe Becca's I'm sorry, Hiram, Rebecca's not at QVCC?
Yeah, no, Becca Kitchell is the Associate Dean of Student Development at Three Rivers at the moment.
You're right.
So, okay.
Hold on a second. It's Tanaya Walters. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll send you the contact information.
Yes, I have met with her. I was pretty confused, but I figured maybe there would have been a switch power or something. But no, I have been in contact with Dr. Walters semi-frequently, not necessarily. She comes to our SGA meetings on occasion, but there is contact there, and thank you for letting me know that.
Okay, sounds good. Let me know how I can help, if I can be helpful.
Will do.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, Angela, thanks for your help again. Hiram also as well. If there's not any concerns or anything else that anyone wants to bring up right now, of course, like we can email and all that stuff. But I'll keep us moving along here. So really quickly, and then I'll just jump into last comments, concerns, and we'll get everyone on with their Friday. But in terms of the updates with the act concerning menstrual products for the system, so essentially I briefly mentioned it, but it essentially it goes into effect I believe July 1st, 2023. And Angela, if I get any this wrong, just feel free to correct me. But it goes into effect July 1st, 2023. So Angela briefly mentioned that, and that it specifically states that it must be free. So if there's any issues like that, definitely just let someone know immediately, because it should be free. It shouldn't be 25 cents, anything like that. It should be free. And then I believe it should be at a central location for each campus. So, and I can forward this email too, because I have the specific language from the bill. If anyone wants, I think I can just drop a quick snippet of it in the chat as well. But essentially, everything I'm telling you all, it says it right here. I know it's a little long, but that's essentially it. So it's free. Doesn't go into effect till July 1st, and it's a central location for anyone that's seeking the product. And there should also be some type of signage, or not signage, but there should be a notice on the institution's website of, I believe, where to locate it and that it's available. So I think that's really important as well. Angela, I don't know if I'm missing anything that would be important to mention from that language as well, but as of right now, that's what it states.
No, I think you're good. And your campuses all have notification about this bill and when it goes into effect. They received the full text, so it should not be anything new news for them.
Yeah, and I would just say if there's any issues, obviously I'm sure a lot of you already know where to go with the institutions, because I know some, like even Faye said, you're already on SGA. But if there's any issues that you don't know what to do, and it's basically the bill isn't being respected correctly, I'm sure Angela will be able to help. And then of course, if we're in a meeting already, definitely feel free to share that, and we can try to tackle it as best as we can. And then lastly, any lasting questions, concerns, comments we did not get to. So I just want to make sure we get everyone. Yeah, Donna.
One thing from the last meeting that I didn't see show up on this agenda, so I didn't know if we just agreed to kind of drop it or something else, but there was some mention about not having classes on election day because that was creating a hardship for some commuting students. Again, that doesn't really affect us at Charter Oak because being online, we have the flexibility and we have people from other states and have different election days and early voting and all that stuff. But I know that was a topic somebody brought up that was an issue. And then there was discussion about, even though there may not be classes that day, that you still wanted to keep the campuses open for people that maybe aren't eligible to vote, but they still want to use the libraries or whatever. So I'm not sure if that's a topic we want to continue. I just wasn't sure where we stood on that.
You know, Donna, that's very funny because I'm like 90% sure I was one of the people that mentioned that, and I completely forgot. Yeah, I'm not sure, and I'm not. And Angela, you might have to help me out again. I'm sorry because I know you're probably doing a million things. I just don't know what the best direction or where to even start with in terms of having that day off.
We can, Alice, let's circle back because I might have done some research. I don't know if I heard back, but I remember that rings a bell, Donna. So let me see what I sent out or requesting information on, and then maybe at the next meeting, we can circle back on what the resolution is in terms of why or why not that can't be done, or what needs to be done to make that request get on somebody's desk that can review it. So that
Yeah, I
definitely.
just brought it up with our SGA and just said, hey, how do you guys feel about it? And for them, they're like, you know, it really doesn't matter to us. But again, we don't have the same type of, you know, commuting to a campus that, you know, all the other institutions have. So you guys may feel differently about it. But I just want to make sure if it was important to you that it didn't get, you know, lost because it didn't get moved over to this agenda.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely take a look. I know that some additional holidays might have been added to the days off calendar, and I think that's what precipitated the actual ask for information. But let me see where things landed or are in the process of landing, and we'll report back to the group. But thank you for reminding us.
Yeah, I was gonna say thanks, Donna. I appreciate it. And then Faye, I see your hand up. I don't know if that's from before though. Or do you have comment, question, concern? Okay. All right. Oh, okay. You put it down. All right, great. Anything else though before we adjourn? Thank you for bearing with me, by the way. I know this is a long meeting for a Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you want to get a motion to adjourn, Alex, and then a second, and then?
Yes. Can I please get a motion to adjourn this meeting at, what is it, 11:31? Oh no, sorry, 11:25 a.m.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you, Hiram.
Seconded.
And I just need a second. Thank you, Donna. All right, you're all free to go. Again, I appreciate it, and then we will see each other March 10th. If there's anything with special meeting, I will send out communication, but please enjoy your weekend. Thank you again.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Take
everyone.
care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a great
good weekend.
weekend.
Thanks,
Farewell.
You too.
Again.